FiveStack. Me saying things are even worse than you.
Things are worse than you thought. This is not a news flash for anybody watching this show, but it's things are worse than you thought they were.
Yeah.
Well, we know that.
Yeah, we've got 5 stories that will actually kind of dictate that. So there's some interesting parts of these stories. I'm excited to get to a bunch of them. I was fortunate enough to just finish up with Malcolm Nance and Lev, where we went over a couple of these, but we've got some other heaters in here. For today's FiveStack, we go over the 5 most important stories of the day. And my very good friend from narrative.org, the Substack's most venerable investigative reporter. No, you are absolutely, without question. Yeah, no, you're just too humble. You're just a really nice guy, really nice man. You never talk about your accolades. You never talk about how professional you are. You never talk about how good you are. You never talk about your storied career. You're just a guy that shows up to work every fucking day and gives people exactly what they need to understand what's going on around them. Go to narrative.org, become a subscriber today. My name is Dean. DeanBlundell.substack.com is where you can find me. We'll get to some more of that in just a second. The last 24 hours have been a little bit of a heater. We've got Netanyahu losing the world. We've got Liberation Day, not so liberating. We've got the Comey indictment, more coming. Hegseth and Quantico seems like a bad idea. And then we had a bombshell today where the House Oversight Committee dropped some Epstein files, estate Epstein file stuff that implicates some of the worst people in the fucking world. So anyway, who's protecting who? That's what I want to know about that story. But no, go ahead. What do you want to say?
I was going to say, remember when Elon Musk said, hey, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Remember he said that? He didn't. He left something out. He obviously left out, his own appearance in the Epstein files. He's in there too. Who knew that Elon Musk was in the Epstein files? I mean, I did actually, but
I did too. Yeah.
But it is interesting that he's now, determined to out himself as a liar, which is good. Because he is a liar.
That's why it's our number one story. So, folks, hang in there with us. Okay, hang in there with us. Yeah. Please, let's go. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Comey, because that is not the number 5 story, but it's certainly a big story we need to touch on today. So James Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury on September 25th on 2 counts of lying to Congress and obstruction, marking the first criminal prosecution of a former FBI director for congressional testimony. The indictment alleges Comey lied during 2020 Senate testimony about not remembering briefings on Person One's approval of a plan regarding the 2016 election and falsely denied authorizing FBI leaks. Charges based on a 5-year testimony.
Sorry, did you say there one of the charges is for him not remembering something in 2020? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's new. Anyway,
falsely denying. He falsely denied, he said.
Okay.
So, he did deny that there was, but there's lots of room for interpretation in what the question said and the answer there. So it's not a strong case at all. Nevertheless, Trump celebrated on Truth Social, calling it justice, while AG Pam Bondi echoed, no one is above the law. So Comey faces 5 years in prison, and he issued a statement just last night that was quite heroic, and he certainly is ready to face trial should he need to, and he will likely. But it's a terrible day for justice. I mean, there's no way of looking at this story and thinking this is representative of what America should be doing. There's no ways that this is reflective of the Constitution. There's no ways that the presidency of the United States should ever be a call-in order thing for indictments. I mean, Trump is using the Department of Justice to go after his enemies in a way that you would like order a pizza from a pizzeria.
Yeah. You can't, again, I say this yesterday, I'll say it again today. You can't argue the merits of this because there are no merits of this. This is political persecution. This is Donald Trump's revenge tour. This is an effort to scare the shit out of all of his enemies, scare the shit out of anybody that wants to come forward and talk about interactions with him that were untowards. James Comey gave testimony in 2017? Yeah, 2017.
Well, the testimony that is in question here happened in 2020.
Yeah.
The original testimony was in 2017, but there was answering questions about that in the 2020 appearance. And the 2020 is what's being currently indicted.
So it's everybody calm down. This whole thing is DOA. Like it is, I am convinced it will go nowhere. And it hinges on really 2 charges, but one thing, him perjuring himself. Now, the indictment appears to attribute to Comey actual words he never said. So the Trump regime and by the way, Lindsay Halligan, former Miss Colorado, an insurance lawyer, is the lawyer that filed this. She She filed alone, by the way, yeah. She filed two different versions of this. So the court had to call her back and go, which one did you want to go with? And she's like, I don't know. I guess this one. I'm just an insurance lawyer. So, I mean, he fired the guy that he put in to try to do this the first time recently in the Eastern District of Virginia. And he's like, I can't fucking find anything on Letitia James or James Comey or Adam Schiff or, I just can't. Or Lisa Cook. And he's like, well, fuck you. So he hires this insurance agent who was part of Trump pageants, insurance lawyer for Trump. It's a crazy fucking story. So she files it, but in the actual filing, after she says go with this file, not the other one, which was mistakenly.
Well, there's three charges actually. The third one was not approved. So there was two filing documents.
Well, you know, if a charge can't even get approved to get in the filing document,
it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
But this is the interesting part. And this is what they say in the count one, false statements within the jurisdiction of legislative branch of the United States government. On or about September 30th, 2020, the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant James B. Comey Jr., I didn't even know he was a junior, did willingly and knowingly make false material, fictitious, and fraudulent statement in matter with the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the United States government by falsely stating to a U.S. Senator, Ted Cruz, during a Senate Judiciary Committee that he, James B. Comey Jr., had, quote, not authorized someone at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports. I've done some digging, and some smarter people than me have done some digging. He never said any of those things. He never said he authorized. So they've actually inserted, if you're to believe real legal beagles, people like Ken Delanian and Ellie Honing, they're actually inserting, or, George Conway or any other lawyer, Lawrence Tribe, they've all looked at this and are like, well, he never said any of that.
What is the actual comment that he made? If it's not that,
he didn't make any of those comments in answering Cruz. Comey said that he stood by his 2017 testimony.
That's right. That's what he said.
He did not say in the 2020 hearing that he hadn't authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports because that person was fucking anonymous to begin with. And so, what they're saying is, well, he came after me and he lied about sending someone anonymous after me. Comey never said any of that stuff. He never said there was an anonymous person, number one. He never said that he couldn't tell that there was an unauthorized someone else at the FBI that was a source that was giving news to people, telling everybody that Donald Trump was a terrible person and he was in bed with Russia, as James Comey took contemporaneously perfect notes of this meeting.
How do you think Mr. Cruz got this information from? I'm really curious about how he would know who authorized what at the highest levels of the FBI.
They don't, dude.
Or he maybe got a little bit of insight. There's the thing about the FBI in 2016, and who knows what it's like today, but especially the New York office of the FBI, it was a cesspit of operatives reporting to different agencies around the world, corrupted people. There was so much going on at the FBI during that summer. It's hard to imagine how the FBI director even kept his head screwed on straight. Because on the one hand, he had the operatives trying to convince him to go out there and frame Hillary Clinton as having these mail servers and illegally using her mail servers.
You were sending email from a private address that could have put us in danger. This is the guy that stole fucking nuclear secrets and put them in his bathroom.
Yeah. So and then the email thing was the thing that everyone says lost her the election that year. At the same time, he was receiving a lot of information around Trump Russia. So this guy was like, okay, let's look at Trump Russia as well, and we should authorize probably, he said, because I did think there was an FBI leak on this, because if I remember the New York Times article correctly, they quote FBI sources. He did say, those sources did say that there was no link between Trump and Russia. If I'm not mistaken, that was what came out. So everything that the FBI director did, and I'm trying to find my actual files here on this. I might be able to add to this in a minute. Everything he did during that time was a result of these external forces that were coming at him. Remember I told you the story of Charlie McGonigal a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Charlie McGonigal, who worked for the Russians and he worked for the Albanians and now he worked for the Chinese as well, was one of the key people in the New York office and then DC office.
He's in jail right now.
He's in jail for being a spy.
Yeah.
And so whatever was going on inside the FBI offices was very heated operationally, and there was a lot of stuff going on, lots of spy stuff going on in order to try use the FBI to lean the elections in either way. And at best, maybe Comey was a victim of that. Maybe.
Mm. Either way, this thing won't see the light of day. James Comey's statement's fantastic. I wrote a little piece on it that kind of walks you through where this thing will fall down and how hard the judge and the jury, the grand jury that indicted James Comey, laughed, including getting one of those charges thrown out. And they're like, "Well, I guess, yeah, we'll have a look at these two charges." And these two charges come from a statement that Comey never even fucking made. Never mind under oath. He never uttered any of the words that they said he perjured himself with. So this is again, this is a paper persecution. It's not, he's not trying to. Donald Trump is not trying to throw James Comey in jail because he knows James Comey is not going to go to jail. Donald Trump, ahead of the lockdown, ahead of the government shutdown, what he's trying to do is he's trying to insert doubt into the minds of Americans. He's trying to warm you up to the idea that maybe some of the people that prosecuted me were bad people. There's a reason why he had January 6th removed from the fucking Smithsonian Museum. There is a reason he pardoned 1,600 hardened insurrectionists, some extremely violent, that were supposed to do 20 to 25 years of jail time. There is a reason for all of this, and the reason for all of this is to strike fear into the hearts of his enemies, Americans who hate the man's guts. It is to hide his disastrous approval rating, sitting around 32, 33% as of today. It's to hide you from the news of the Epstein files, which we'll get to a little later on. It's to distract. It's to aggregate power. But more importantly, it is all a perception. It has got nothing to do with real life. Donald Trump knows that James Comey is not going to do any prison time, but he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. All he cares about is that the American public go, well, maybe, right? Maybe he went after Donald Trump.
He also needs this thing. He's busy building an authoritarian state.
Yeah.
And in order to have an authoritarian state, he knows that the recipe has this thing that you need to include a sort of domestic enemy. And that domestic enemy has to be doing all these terrible, mean, bad things to you in order to justify then your, labeling them as extremists or whatever it is his plans are for the left and the liberals and the rhetoric that he keeps talking about. So he has to form this other. He has to find people who are bad people, bad seeds everywhere, doing terrible things
dirty
to him.
Cop. He called James Comey dirty cop.
So it's not even that it's personal about Comey, I don't think. It's just that he has a recipe. He's trying to make a cake, and this recipe needs this ingredient of, let me turn these guys on the left into my enemies that did bad things to me, which they didn't. I mean, Comey actually helped Trump win the 2016 election. There's no ways you could look at that election and say Donald Trump would have won without the FBI. So this turning everyone into the other, you'll see it with Bolton, you'll see it now with Soros, you'll see it with all these shootings. Everything is designed to create a feeling for some people in America that the enemy is real. Now, what happens to his cake if he can't actually convince America that the enemy is there, that the Democrats are such terrible people, that they are, the enemy and they need to be driven out?
It's a bad cake. It's a bad cake. It's a bad cake is what it is. It's a shitty cake.
You could have a shitty cake that doesn't actually rise to the occasion of being a dictator.
Yeah.
And he's screwed in that case because he needs a cake in order to fulfill his mission. Otherwise, he gets voted out of power and, guess what? Goes to jail. Because he actually he's a felon,
Yeah, loses the House, loses the Senate, loses the election. I mean, everything is gearing up to scare the shit out of you as you stand in line and vote or to prevent you from going there. And just to kind of double back and tie a bow on the Comey thing, and then we'll move on. Kyle Chaney, a lawyer, put out a fucking great tweet about this today. Trump has been tweeting about James Comey, going after James Comey, getting retribution for James Comey. He's basically laid the tracks. He's given everybody the paperwork that would indicate that this is absolutely fucking personal. I disagree with you on that statement, that it's not personal. It's personal, but it also fits into his fucking bigger strategy, which is, how do I scare the shit out of everybody? And you do it with a tweet like this. This is right after James Comey got indicted. Keep in mind, this is coming from a guy that had no idea that James Comey was going to get indicted. I don't look into that, but yeah, he should go to jail. Whether you liked corrupt James Comey or not, he hasn't been convicted of anything. Somehow he's corrupt. This is a 34-time felon and a rapist, by the way, and a con man and a money launderer. Corrupt James Comey or not, I can't imagine too many people liking him. He lied. It's not a complex lie. It's a very simple but important one. I want you to take note. He never talks about what the lie is. There is no way he can explain his way out of it. He's a dirty cop, and he always has been. But he was just assigned a crooked Joe Biden appointee judge because the judge in the case is a Biden appointee.
Of course, yeah, it can't be legitimate then.
So he's off to a very good start. So he's laying the tracks for the fact that he's going to fucking lose.
Yeah, because he's going to lose anyhow.
And then he's going to blame. He's going to, go on that whole thing about lefty judges, Biden appointees, which doesn't fucking matter at all. Unless your name's Eileen Cannon, then it matters. And then he says, nevertheless, words are words, and he wasn't hedging or in dispute. He was very positive. There was no doubt in his mind about what he said. By saying it, he left himself zero margin of error on a big and important answer to a question. He got unexpectedly caught. James Dirty Cop Comey, destroyer of lives. He knew exactly what he was saying. And that was a very serious and far-reaching lie for which a very big price must be paid. Got to pay the price. Keep in mind, this is a guy that said he had nothing to do with it, and also didn't talk about what that lie was once because he either has no fucking idea or he's not even too sure what his fucking lawyers are setting up for him and how they got this guy charged. So he'd just rather not talk about it. It's like the same answer he gives when someone's like, "What's your favorite verse of the Bible?" He's like, "I can't really talk about it. It's one of my favorite books." So
this is a man who lies with every day with so much and with impunity, just completely has no bearing on what the truth is at all. He doesn't even understand truth. He doesn't even understand the concept.
Lev's words, he's like, he can't keep it in his pants. And so this is creating a real problem for him on Jump Street. Not the fact that this was done by an insurance lawyer and it was terrible and there are no merit-based charges, but Kyle Cheney said, and this was brilliant, Trump's inability to stop live commentary on Comey's case will probably fucking doom it. This isn't just a broad, no one is above the law. He's doing legal analysis that Comey's team will plug right into their selective prosecution motion to dismiss the entire fucking indictment. And if you don't think that James Comey, former director of the FBI, who's got lots of money, he's got lots of friends, lots of great lawyer pals, lots of people in the FBI, the sharpest minds in the world that he's going to surround himself with.
After all.
It's over before it fucking begins, dude.
Yeah, look, the other thing is, clearly Trump wants this to fall apart. He knows that this thing's not going to stand up. I hope Comey actually uses it to go back and relitigate 2016, because I think we all know that this wasn't a hoax. We all know that Donald Trump and Russia colluded to the hilt in winning that 2016 election. And this is an opportunity to reopen the entire file, and I hope it backfires on Donald Trump in exactly that way. I think we should go back and look at all the ways that Russia helped him get elected in 2016. Probably stole that election completely because of Russia. So, maybe there's an upside to all of this. Maybe there's a silver lining, and he doesn't have to go through this the selective prosecution route. The number 4 story is, you'll like this one, President Trump's tariff spree accelerated with 100% levies on pharmaceuticals, 50% on kitchen cabinets. Now, we actually have the numbers on how much money is coming in according to the U.S. Treasury. $29.5 billion in August alone. So there's about $400 to $500 billion in revenue coming in, according to the U.S. Treasury. And the Washington Post says these are legitimate numbers. So the question is, why are we in the middle of this astonishing shutdown? Why are we about to take away healthcare and Medicare and Medicaid from everyone? Why are we currently have a $1.7 trillion deficit projected for this year when we have all this money coming in? And why isn't it being assigned somewhere? Because it seems to me that if this money is coming in and it's not being assigned somewhere, and you got someone like Donald Trump in power, he might actually keep it. He might actually find a way to walk away with his money.
You're assuming that he's telling the truth, Sev.
I'm assuming
that his Treasury Department, led by Scott Bessent, is telling the truth, that they've made $29.5 billion in the month of August.
It's possible because the tariffs are actually being charged to people, and they are being paid by these exporters.
The Americans are paying it. Yeah. I don't believe
Americans
any
and
of
exporters are paying
for a second. And you ask, some, but not much. It's all being passed on to the American people. It's a tax on the American people, the biggest tax hike on the American people in America's history. That is what these tariffs are. So he's out there going, I took $29.5 billion. First of all, pathological liar, can't believe a fucking word he says. He's like, I took in $17 trillion from the EU. It's like, oh, fuck, no, you didn't. So there's that. And you ask where the money is because, he's planning on bailing out farmers because he fucked up that relationship. China is like, we don't want your soybeans. And they're like, well, we're going to die. So he's like, you know what I told everybody? And this is where the money is apparently on the tariff shelf.
Yeah, well, what's it doing there?
It's on the tariff shelf.
People are dying because of the Medicare.
You want to know where you're going to get the money for the farmers? Look up on the tariff shelf. He did it again yesterday. He's done it now 5 times where they talk about these crazy numbers that don't exist, that nobody has access to but him. And by the way, he fires people if they put out real numbers that make him look bad. So there's no way those fucking numbers are real. Like, no fucking way.
We have to take some of it at face value because
no, you can't. I can't.
You don't think he's making money off tariffs?
Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. And then just because he's fucking feeling plucky, right? Just because he thinks he's cool, he's got this. I said, take $31 billion off the old tariff shelf. Just because he's feeling rad, just because he's feeling it right now. He's like, everybody believes me. I'm the fucking president. Look at me. I can just say all this other shit.
Yeah.
Then this guy steps out and he starts talking. This was yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, about how much money this country has made, not from tariffs, but starts lying about China giving him money. China hasn't given him a fucking dime. They're killing the United States of America agriculture right now. About the EU giving money. None of those things happened either.
But I think
that's why you can't know.
I think it's important to also try the other side of this argument. Let's say he is making money. Let's say he is making a lot of money by creating this TikTok deal. Maybe he's getting something on the side for the TikTok deal. Maybe he's getting something.
He's making money for sure. Yeah. I'm saying the numbers he gives you about the money that's coming into the United States.
But I'm just saying that money on the shelf, he thinks of as his money. He maybe doesn't actually think of it as the country's money, because others you'd be putting it to lower the deficit. Because, hey, that's $1.7 trillion that we're paying this year that we apparently don't need to pay. We can pay $1.2 trillion. It reduces our spending, interest rates. It reduces our debt overall. It makes America more attractive. It protects the dollar. These are smart things to do. If you've got, $500 million coming in, why wouldn't you use that for something? And he ain't using it for anything. So either it's not real, in which case he's just, batshit crazy, possibly, or it's real, but he has it earmarked for something else, like his own piggy bank or his own whatever it is, sovereign wealth fund or a crypto fund or whatever it is he might decide at a later stage to use it for. And that to me is concerning. So we could just say, hey, this money's not there. But if it is there, why the fuck aren't they using it to cut back taxes for people?
Because it's not there.
It's not there.
because it's not there. You know how much the deficit this year alone is $1.7 trillion? That's the interest on the deficit?
That's a deficit.
That's the deficit. To pay off that deficit, let's assume he's not lying and he took in $30 billion in tariffs. It's like, you'd have to do that for 20 years. You'd have to do that for 20 fucking years. So if he's telling you that this is saving America, a simple cursory understanding of math, and I have a very cursory understanding of math, would dictate that he's fucking lying. And I go back to this all the time. You're a smart man, Zev.
Yeah.
The fact that you're not discounting every fucking number that comes out of that dickhead's mouth is unbelievable.
Well, because I know that
from the regime.
Because tariffs exist. Tariffs are actual things, and people are paying the tariffs. I know that. I see it sometimes in the prices of the stuff that we pay because they tell you how much the tariffs are. So I do think that this is a tax on people and on importers. And so that money is flowing into an official treasury account, and they have to be telling us, the accounting offices are supposedly independent. They should be telling us what money's coming in. So I'd rather take it at least, investigate whether it's real. But if it is real, why is he not passing it on to where it should be passed on to? Because to me, that is the more criminal part of this. So you can say, hey, it's not real. It's not real. But if it is real, it's a malpractice of the presidency to be hoarding $500 million and not doing something with it when people are suffering, when we're paying interest on a deficit that we can't afford, when our debt is ballooning in the way it is, and when the US dollar is under so much pressure right now. It's just bad. I know you're going to say it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Well, I'll meet you 1/8 of the way and say it doesn't exist. The money isn't there. But if it does, and he's not giving it to the people, and he's not getting rid of the deficit, and he's not propping up healthcare or feeding hungry children or pumping it into projects, infrastructure, bridges, roads, isn't that kind of what Trump does? Isn't that exactly who he
Well,
is?
where's he going to take? He's going to take our money. Is my concern. My concern
Probably.
is that he's
He
this
took
guy's a
nuclear
criminal. He's a
secrets and he
con
stuffed them
man.
in the toilet. He's
Yeah.
pretty sure he's again not above taking America's money and your taxpayer money. Dude sells Bibles to poor people in trailers that can't afford fucking food.
I mean, I'm
The guy-
investigating him on 40 years of criminal activity of
Yeah.
stealing America's money.
Oh,
He
he's
is
got
not above stealing this $500
no
billion.
question in my mind.
He will take it. If he can, he'll take it.
Yep.
And I just think people should be paying attention to that because it is our money. And $500 million, I don't know, seems like a lot.
I'd like
it.
Yeah.
I'd like some, yeah. The number 3 story, Benjamin Netanyahu addressed a nearly empty UN General Assembly Friday as the vast majority of diplomats staged a mass walkout, leaving him speaking to rows and rows and rows of vacant seats. The exodus included representatives from Arab and Muslim nations, but also several African countries and some European delegations. While Netanyahu defiantly declared Israel will finish the job in Gaza to about 10 people, the dramatic protest came after the Trump administration denied Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas a visa to speak in person. He had to do his remotely. So Netanyahu's having a bad day. Good. This guy's should not be in any way respected by anybody in the world.
He's losing the world if he hasn't already lost the world. I mean, there's this reverence everybody used to have for Israel that has effectively disappeared, right? And the reason why it's disappeared has nothing to do with Jews. It's got nothing to do with Israelis. It's got nothing to do with being Jewish. It's got nothing to do with any one of your fucking stupid racist anti-Semitic tropes. None. Not you. I mean, people in general. The reason why Netanyahu has lost the world, and by and large, the reason why Israel has one of the worst ratings when it comes to safety, happiness of the citizens in the country, these are war-weary people, is because he is to the Israeli people what Donald Trump is to America, but he's been doing it for 25 fucking years, off and on. 25 fucking years. Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal who's wanted in, I want to say, 112 countries. Benjamin Netanyahu is flying his plane around countries like France and Spain so that his plane doesn't get guided down to the airport, so that he doesn't get arrested for crimes against humanity. Benjamin Netanyahu is, and I watched his UN speech today. It's like every one of his speeches where he gaslights everybody into thinking that everybody's out to get him and woe's me, and literally painting and using the plight of the Jewish people for the past 100 years as his reason that he should continue to commit genocide in Gaza. And watching all of those UN delegates stand up and walk out was fascinating to me, because 5 years ago, everybody's sticking around, everybody's cheering for the guy, everybody's like, yay, Israel. Yay, Netanyahu. Yeah, let's get the bastards. But we've had a couple of years of some pretty horrific murder, some horrific genocide, starving people to death, to the point where Donald Trump in the Oval Office, he was asked if, hey, is Israel going to get the West Bank? He goes, no, that's enough. Like Donald Trump. He's like, that's enough.
He said it. Yeah, he said it doesn't mean it.
He can't. I mean, whatever. I mean, everything he says is a lie anyway. So I don't believe him there either. He's probably negotiating what that's enough means at the moment with Benjamin Netanyahu. But I watched Benjamin Netanyahu do the alt-right podcast circuit. He popped up on Dinesh D'Souza's podcast the other day. I don't know if you saw this.
I didn't see that.
No one will interview him. No one will talk to him. 145 countries literally voted to tell him to stop what he's doing to the innocent
I'd interview him in a heartbeat. I'd love to
I would
interview
too.
him.
You would. We'd all do it, but no one else wants to. Like he's a cancer. He's a cancer that has destroyed whatever Jewish dream Jewish people in Israel had. He has misrepresented those beautiful people, much like Hamas has misrepresented the people in Palestine. We're not, and this is kind of, and I think that this is an important thing to remember for a lot of people. You can't generalize that it's the Jewish people or it's Israel or it's this or it's that, because he's hated by and large by the majority of Israelis. They just can't fucking get rid of the guy. And what you're seeing here is a tour de force by Benjamin Netanyahu to cling to power for as long as he fucking can. And the reason why he's doing it, several different court cases that involve him embezzling money, committing fraud, lying, stealing, cheating. His wife was busted a couple years ago. She was convicted of embezzlement. She was convicted of fraud. He is trying to outrun the law exactly like Donald Trump tried to outrun the law, which he did in becoming the president of the United States again. And that's always on Donald Trump's mind, too. He's like, my God, if they take the House and the Senate back, I'm fucked. Well, these two guys are really strange bedfellows that really fucking need each other right now because they have isolated themselves from the rest of the world that is not an axis of evil country. So if you look at it in terms of who's at fault for what's going on in Israel, Gaza, I completely put the blame on Hamas. That's a terrorist organization that needs to be wiped off the face of the earth. But Benjamin Netanyahu is a danger. He is a war criminal, and he is a fucking terrorist who needs to leave.
These leaders, these dictators that have taken over all these countries, like Trump, like Netanyahu, like Putin, are manufactured by the same forces, by the mob that you could probably describe as Israeli-Russian syndicated crime organization that is really being a cancer to the world. And it is unfortunate that, people like Bibi and Trump, there are actual receipts showing you that they're funded by the same people. Sheldon Adelson and Miriam Adelson, who funded the Trump campaign in 2016, were also the big backers of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, of Benjamin Netanyahu. These are the same people funding the same kinds of people. And they're creating these tyrannical leaders in all these countries that are destroying what are really beautiful democracies. I mean, Israel, for the longest time, had an incredible democracy with real justice and real elections. And yes, it was fractured and all these other terrible things, but it was a very functioning democracy in a part of the world that had no democracies, that only had dictators. And Benjamin Netanyahu has systematically torn that apart. And now it's happening to us in America in much the same way. And you can always see it in the attacks that happen to the departments of justice. His initial attacks
Supreme Court,
against the authorities of democracy in Israel was to go after the Supreme Court and to make them less able to prosecute people and to make decisions about certain cases. It's the same thing that's happening right now here in the United States. And we've seen this template over and over and over again. And we've got to be very careful of this not becoming a anti-Jewish thing, because it isn't an anti-Jewish thing, but there are some dark forces that come out of that mob that really need to be tamed, and the corruption needs to be completely rooted out of our system.
From what I understand, he wasn't born in Israel, correct? Was he born in Poland? Is that correct?
Maybe. I don't know, actually. He was a spy himself. He was around during. He was also very good friends, by the way, with Fred Trump. And people don't realize that he and Fred Trump had a very close friendship, and he'd visit Fred Trump many, many times, which means he knew, Donald from a very young age, I would say. And my guess is that this has been a lot, more than just a political alliance. This has been a family alliance in the kind of way that a mob family has an alliance with another mob family.
Okay. Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Listen, you have to be able to separate. I think last word on the Netanyahu thing, you have to be able to separate, as you pointed out so eloquently just now and well wrapped up. You have to separate Bibi Netanyahu from the people of Israel. You have to. You have to separate anybody that works for him. You got to separate the hardliners that are, calling for the eradication of Gaza, the people in Gaza that want to develop that entire space as the Riviera of Israel. You have to separate. I mean, it is like these are people these are Donald Trump's people, to your point, and they want to do the same things. But it's really important to stay out of that anti-Semitism, to not paint Jewish people with the same brush, because by and large, and I'm seeing some Jewish subscribers here going, yeah, this is exactly how we feel. And I've got some really bright friends that are persecuted daily by people here in Canada, which needs to fucking stop, by the way, that are Jewish. Because what happens is if you don't nuance this conversation, if you're like, he represents all of Israel, kind of like Donald Trump represents all of America, he does not. you're going to get into trouble and you're going to continue to foment hate. And I would encourage
That
everybody
is
not to do
so
that today.
important, Dean. What you just said there is so important. This conversation has to be nuanced all the time, because what you will land up with is this anti-Jewish movement, and we know how that lands up in the world. This is a very specific issue that we have with Bibi Netanyahu, and a portion of the Israeli population does support him, obviously, as a minority. And he certainly gets support out of Russia. But that is not who American Jews are, and certainly not where American Jews largely stand. The number 2 story.
Yeah, 2. You got it.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered hundreds of one-star generals and admirals worldwide to report to Quantico Tuesday for a mandatory speech, which we now know he says is just going to be the warrior ethos speech, flying 800 people from all parts of the world and telling them to stand down from their posts to come and listen to a speech that he could have streamed to them seems a little much like overkill. But he's one of the insiders at the Pentagon. He's saying that what he's really doing is getting the horses into the stables and whipping them into shape, which sounds to me like a purge, because there's always the or else part, right? Like, you better get in line.
Let's reflect on that.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth, a guy who's been to rehab 400 times, a guy who hasn't been able to keep a fucking job because he gets way too drunk at staff parties and grabs ass. A guy who was a drunk weekend Fox anchor. That was the best he could ever do. Is the Secretary of Defense. He's calling himself the Secretary of War, which apparently is illegal. It's a law. It's the Secretary of Defense. It is the Department of Defense. I don't know if you know that. It was a law signed into effect in 1948. Yeah. And it is amazing to me that he thinks he can bring in the smartest, most fucking courageous military minds in the world.
It's crazy.
To, quote, whip them into shape or present them with a new warrior ethos. That's not what he's doing. What he's doing, according to Lev Parnas and Malcolm Nance, who I just podcasted with, we'll put that out a little later on so you can see it. They laid it out painfully. They laid it out very clear. This is the beginning of the purge. You get on side or you get the fuck out. You take advantage of the new direction of the army. That's his warrior ethos. The new direction. They're going to lay out a new direction, new allies, new partnerships, according to Lev. That's his sourced reporting. And it is going to be highly vindictive. They're going to apparently focus on defeating the left. They need military support to defeat the left. Is it domestic? Is it around the world? Are they going to take part in going into different countries with Axis allies and assholes like Russia to defeat the left? We don't know. But you've got 800 generals, and this is the other problem. And Malcolm Nance went fucking crazy on the live that we did today. It was just a week in review. And he's like, they're going to stack those fucking SUVs up going into Quantico to the tune of 30 or 40 fucking SUVs. Every major military power in the world is going to focus all of their surveillance and data capture at Quantico in Virginia. And they're going to suck up data and they're going to get information. And it is the worst idea that Malcolm Nance, to the point where he was screaming, this is the fucking dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. And someone in the chain of command should have stopped this, but they didn't. On top of Pete Hegseth not being qualified to whip anybody fucking into shape.
Yeah, I mean, this notion of him telling anyone what a warrior ethos is ridiculous. Ridiculous. But, I wrote about this yesterday and I put out a piece last night about a couple of interesting things that I found really interesting. One is the basic parallel purge that happened in Nazi Germany in 1938 when the Fuhrer invited all his generals to a meeting in the chancellery and demanded their loyalty. He landed up purging a whole bunch of them, 16 generals in total, and then transferred 44 others. Now, that particular bit of information, I don't know if it was from my blog or elsewhere, landed up showing up at one of the tweets from a Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, who tweeted this. July 1935, German generals were called on a surprise assembly in Berlin and informed that their previous oath to the Weimar Constitution was void, and then that they would be required to swear a personal oath to the Fuhrer. Most generals took the new oath to keep their positions, which Pete Hegseth then responded to by retweeting the tweet by saying, "Cool story, General." That was seen by 2.9 million people. I don't know if Ben Hodges is going to have a job after next Tuesday, judging by that response from Pete Hegseth, but at least they're aware. At least they know what's going on and what we're building up to here.
Yeah.
And, thank God for that, because those Germans, generals in 1935, they did not know what they were walking into. They did not know how the world was going to change. We know how the world is going to change, and so did these generals.
Some got murdered before they even left the fucking room.
Yeah.
So the night of long knives is what it's called, and it was when and Goggin pointed this out to us last week. Hitler made a deal with the chancellor, the then chancellor. He's like, okay, I'll get rid of all my crazy brown shirts. You just give me the army. And he's like, done. And so he killed the brown shirts, but then he also killed members of the army that he didn't like.
Yeah.
Or didn't want to swear an oath of allegiance to one man instead of the Weimar Constitution in Germany back then. It's like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States. This is what you agree to serve. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll serve you. Well, fucking job done. If this meeting is anything like that, and smarter people than me, intelligence spooks like Malcolm Nance do believe that is the case, the only solution here is the Joint Chiefs has to stand up and go, not doing it. But if you remember, one of the first purges of the military, guess what they did? They got rid of the head of the Joint Chiefs and replaced him with a complete fucking moron. Yeah. And so, this has been a work in progress, but it's also interesting the timing of it, right? We're a year away from the midterms. His approval rating sucks. He is literally underwater in every capacity. The economy is gone to shit. His Ukraine lie is still a lie. The Epstein files are coming out. He's threatening to fucking invade Canada and Greenland, and I'm going to have Malcolm on to talk about that with us next week. And he knows he's got to do something. So the timing of this is absolutely fucking fascinating because of what's not just going on in Ukraine and Gaza, but what's going on geopolitically around the world. Is he now has certain people in place that will not speak up should he and Pete Nutsack decide they need an oath of loyalty via 800 of the most high-ranking military officers in the United States of America.
This idea of bringing all these people to one place is just so antithetical to the notion of how a distributed system is meant to work. We have distributed leadership, so you can't cut off the whole head. If there was something terrible that happened in Quantico and all 800 generals were taken out, it would be a travesty of huge proportions for
Dude, my lawyer called me yesterday, and he's like, what do you make of this thing? And I go, we had a quick conversation. He goes, you know why I find it weird? Because he's a partner at a law firm.
Yeah.
He's like, partners can't take the same flights. We've got a fucking law.
Yeah. The vice president
and
can actually travel
with
the
lawyers.
president.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have a designated person from the cabinet that does not attend the State of the Union for this exact reason. You can't have every single leader from around the world stand down from their very important posts where there's actual wars going on. We are actually potentially facing a war with Russia right now. You're going to take that general and bring them back to for a pep talk about the warrior ethos?
And 799 more.
It's like, it makes no sense. There's a report today about how Russia is helping China train for an attack on Taiwan right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just beyond belief.
If you're asking me, before we get to story number one, if you're asking me what this is all about, it's a loyalty pledge, and he's going to let 800 of the most important military minds in the country know that America is moving in a different direction. What that direction is, your guess is as good as mine, but if you read the tea leaves, it's probably lining himself up with other people and moving away from allied relationships in the past. And he's going to sprinkle a little leftism, Antifa in there, and then he's going to tell him either you're on side or off side. And that's when someone's going to have to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen. That's what I think.
There'll be a loyalty pledge like that.
Absolutely.
This is the new direction, sign on or move out.
Yeah.
But along the lines of what I was saying earlier about making a cake, about baking a cake, Trump needs to have the military behind him, right? That's another ingredient of this cake that he's making. He needs to create the enemy. He's done that. He's trying to do that with the left. And then he also needs the military on side. He doesn't have the military on side right now. This is an attempt to make that happen. That cake is going to flop even more dramatically if the military stand up to him, if Republican leaders say this is a bridge too far, if ever the public say this is a bridge too far, then that is going to change the trajectory of this regime, and they know that. That's why Tuesday is such a high stakes moment for them. Number one on the countdown, House Democrats released 8,544 Epstein estate documents Friday, revealing that Tesla's CEO Elon Musk was invited to Epstein's private island in December 2014 with a cryptic note asking, "Is this still happening?" Though there's no evidence Musk accepted or visited the island, the documents show was Peter Thiel was scheduled for lunch in 2017, Steve Bannon for breakfast in the same year, and just months before Epstein's death in 2019. And they include Musk's contact information with notes about Tesla funding requests and intermediaries. Now, this is important because for a long time, Elon Musk has said he's got nothing to do with Epstein and nothing to do with Ghislaine Maxwell. But now apparently he was scheduling a breakfast, a little meeting on the island with Jeffrey Epstein. It's unclear if he went or not, but he certainly knew them better than he publicly admits.
Are you surprised?
No, I know, because I know that he had various dinners that he attended with Epstein. Now, was it a direct invite and a breakfast? That we didn't know. That it was like a one-on-one thing. But they certainly have him listed in many of those Silicon Valley dinners as one of those guests in the dawn of Silicon Valley. So we know that absolutely he was involved in that.
I've got a post about this. You can actually go and read some of the pages. You can go and actually see Elon Musk's name, breaking House oversight, drop new Epstein documents, Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, all over them. What's interesting is the timing and the metadata that's associated with these, right? Not just metadata, but data. So 2019, he was already convicted, right? Jeffrey Epstein's convicted of just prior to him actually going to the Manhattan Correctional Facility where he really fortunately passed away. There is a meeting scheduled at 7 a.m. Saturday, February 16th, 2019 in New York with Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is still talking to him, even after he got convicted, even after all of the shit happened. Steve Bannon is having breakfast with him.
He's coaching him, remember?
Yeah, and then you go back to Peter Thiel, same day. Reed Weingarten, same day. Then you go back to 2017. He's talking about Jeffrey Epstein's house, but he's got breakfast at 8 a.m. with Reed Weingarten. Then he's got a nice lunch with Peter Thiel at 12 o'clock. Peter Thiel's name and address and information comes up dozens of times. Peter Thiel, as you know, admitted to taking funding from Jeffrey Epstein's group. In the Elon Musk situation, and this is fascinating to me too, is that on December the 14th, this is like 3 years before it's 2017, 2014, December the 6th, reminder, Elon Musk to the island, December 6th, is this still happening? And now we're getting receipts in those documents that Elon Musk was approaching Jeffrey Epstein for funding. What if Palantir? What if SpaceX, Tesla, The Boring Company, Neuralink? What if all of that is Jeffrey Epstein's money? Then who the fuck's protecting who?
Well, it's more than just Jeffrey Epstein's money, because I uncovered in an actual, this is the date on this story is July 26, 2019. So I don't know how that corresponds to these events, but I published a story called Building Big Brother, which was all about how Peter Thiel was an investor alongside Jeffrey Epstein, alongside Victor Vekselberg in a company called Carbon, which was an Israeli-fronted company. It was basically a spy company that was created out of Israel's 8200 division and then was spun off as its own entity. And that Thiel and Epstein were funders of this, including Ehud Barak as well was another funder. And this was a spy kind of, what this Carbon did is actually really interesting on its own, but people should check it out. They can check out my story. But it's interesting that these guys were partners on an Israeli spy initiative, basically. Now, we know that Jeffrey Epstein worked for Israeli military intelligence. We know that. How does Peter Thiel get wrapped into all of that? I don't know. But this is just one example of many where Peter Thiel shows up as an investor, and Epstein shows up an investor in Peter Thiel. And
Mm.
so that relationship has a lot of questions that need to be still filled out. And I don't think Peter Thiel has done explaining that to people yet.
Yeah, and Peter Thiel has a really checkered sexual history as well, as does Elon Musk. Like I mean, we're talking, yeah, very very dark shit. And
I mean, I would say it's not that. I don't know. Well,
I don't know.
what are you
Peter
going to say?
Thiel's last boyfriend just fell out of a window, so
Peter
I don't
Thiel's,
know.
real love of his life apparently fell off a roof and killed him was killed. I don't know if people have a firm understanding of exactly how that happened, but I don't think it was.
Well, he made some serious allegations. The gentleman who fell off a roof made some fairly serious allegations prior to
About
falling up about Peter
being a
Thiel being
kept
controlling,
yeah,
being
but well, he was
angry,
his
being
kept boyfriend. I mean,
oh, okay.
he got a beautiful, luxurious
Oh,
mansion.
he
He
was just
got
a
a
little
beautiful
angry.
car. He
Wasn't
was.
enough. Okay, maybe I
So
don't know, but I mean, like,
was he?
listen.
Is that a terrible thing? I mean, there's lots of.
Well, do you doubt that he might have done something? I mean, it's not just listen.
Do I think Thiel killed the boyfriend? I have no idea, but
No,
I
I'm
don't
not
think so.
saying that. I mean, do you absolve just because Peter Thiel looks like had a very healthy business relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, or let's throw Elon Musk on the pile? Do you doubt that these guys are involved criminally with, the Epstein files?
No.
Because
I think that
I don't.
absolutely they're involved in that. I just think the dark sexual shit is not that dark. I think it's just his. Look, I'll say it's hard for me to just to bridge this a little bit here. I have met Peter Thiel. I met him in a gay party in Fire Island, and a lot of the so-called dark sexual things are not really that dark. They're just sort of gay things. So, I would say it's easy to paint it
You're
all
just
as
telling me
evil.
this now that you met him at a party?
I've said this many times. I've
Oh,
told people,
you haven't told me this. This is fascinating.
oh,
Okay.
yeah. I met Peter, and then there's a bunch of their little moments that happened around Peter Thiel's circle, I should say. But I didn't fall for his lure. I think there was one point he was trying to make me one of their. They were creating these sort of minor personalities that were going to be the sort of the followers of Peter Thiel, and I was for about a split second was asked to come for one of those weekends, and I never did. So that's because
You were asked to be part of his media harem? Is that what you were asked to do?
I mean, I wouldn't say it that way.
Do you know how much money you'd have right now if you
I
said
would be a
yes?
billionaire because those people who were involved in that thing are billionaires right now. And I think about that day, and I was like, "Damn, your principles, man, they are expensive.
Oh,
Yeah, those
they
values
cost
you
you a
have.
lot of money.
Yeah, those are $1 billion mistakes, man. So, well, I'm sure I've been terrible at that kind of job, but regardless, what was I saying? I'm saying that the stuff is just, there's a lot of stuff out there right now that's trying to paint him as sexually
Deviant.
deviant. And, the gay world is very different from the straight world, and I'm not going to try explain it. Either way, this is a different kind of,
I think that's a whole
environment.
podcast, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I think you and I need to do an entire podcast on that.
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
love talking about politics and the end of democracy in the United States. However, the gay party scene, that intrigues me. We need to do a couple of shows on that.
I will gladly do that. I'll gladly explain it. But I think it's, we should be careful about saying this about Peter Thiel's like in some dark thing, because I think he's just, a gay dude. But the other part of it is very disturbing. The stuff that he's related to Jeffrey Epstein in financial terms, that he's funding Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, this is where you got to ask the question: how well does Peter Thiel and Benjamin Netanyahu connect? I mean, they've met each other on several occasions. So have Jared Kushner. Was Jared Kushner who introduced Peter Thiel to Donald Trump. Peter Thiel became a big supporter of Donald Trump. And Jared Kushner and Bibi also very close. So inadvertently, the show has, brought us back to this theme of what role did Israel play in building up the Donald Trump mythology and in connecting them with all these billionaires that seem to surround Donald Trump. And I think the answer is a large role.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It always comes back to that, doesn't it? And I think a good place to wrap up the FiveStack today is, the things they allow us to see, there's so much more behind what we're not getting, and Lev said that today in our live. He's like, if you knew what wasn't being talked about, which he's part of, which are conversations like this, like that, about what's coming next, who's behind what is the cabal, and what is the cabal doing, because we're only seeing what they want us to see, right? Like, it's like Trump's venous insufficiency or his hand. Like, how much worse is that? Or
Right.
like alligator Alcatraz, how much worse is that? Because we're not getting any information. So always important to make sure that you cue in, and you hang into conversations like this, support conversations like this, share conversations like this, and subscribe to people like ourselves, like Malcolm Nance, like Lev Parnas, the guys at Midas, Joe Walsh, who's just tearing it up right now. He's absolutely fantastic. Is they will give you the playbook, and we will kind of lay it at your feet. You can make your decision. We're not here to influence you at all. We're just here to build the resistance and to talk about the things that don't get talked about, because when you talk about the things that need to be talked about, not the stuff they want you to talk about, but the intention and the context that goes into what aren't we talking about, stuff like this, 5 different topics that are not readily available to people because they're out there telling you that, oh, Hegseth just called a warrior ethos meeting. That doesn't make any sense. And then we deliver why. Thank you for joining us, even just today, to kind of sort through some of this stuff. It is, I say this all the time, pleasure of my life to, be one of your Sherpas, to help you understand the information that you're getting and to help debunk disinformation, but also to look under the hood and to pop that hood, because we know how to pop that hood. We have these conversations. We have people in different places. Joining the resistance is really important. And that man across the screen from me, that man right there, Zev Shalev, is maybe one of the best investigative reporters. And the nuggets that he gives you here about context that have ranged for 40 years are all available at narrative.org. Go and subscribe, become a paid sub. You will never be more informed. And you'll also go, oh, okay, that makes all the sense in the world. Subscribe to Zev, subscribe to me as well. Free or paid, doesn't matter. Please share the content. Join these communities. Thank you very much for being part of the FiveStack. Does that mean we're done until
Well, I
Monday?
just want to say one thing. Can I just say one thing? Am I allowed?
What do you mean you're allowed? Don't do that.
I'm enjoying your renaissance so much. I love seeing your comeback. I think it's beautiful. The fact that you are so, energized and passionate by this topic and these issues, and they really speak to people about, tells people a lot about who you are as a human being. And it's just great to have you having conversations with people like Malcolm Nance, having, regular shows with Lev Parnas. These are not insignificant people in the world. And after what happened to you in Canada a few years ago, and to see your reemergence, your comeback, your glory days returned is fascinating and beautiful. And I love it. And I love you for it. And good work, Dean Blundell.substack.com. Check him out.
Thank you, my friend. And thanks for joining us for the FiveStack today. It was awfully nice of you. I get sweaty when people say nice things about me, so it's time to get off the Substack live. You have a great weekend, my very good friend,
Cheers.
and we'll circle back on Monday. See you at 3 o'clock on Monday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Hang in there.
Cheers, everyone.